Hi, I'm Josh.
And I'm Derek. We're both experienced founders and CEOs of B2B SaaS companies, and now we're your hosts.
In today's world, getting accurate information about B2B SaaS products is tough. User review sites are manipulated, and research reports are often wildly inaccurate or paid for. That's why we're here, to bring you information that no one else does.
We go straight to the software companies themselves to break down their products, show you a demo, and give you our honest opinions. Whether you're a software buyer, investor, or user, this podcast is for you.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Talk SaaSy to Me. Today we've got a special guest. Adam, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I am Adam Robinson. I am the founder of RB2B and Retention.com. RB2B sells to, well, right now it's like SaaS, revenue leaders, founders. Retention.com sells to e-commerce stores. We do person-level website visitor identity. And we will get into what that is later, I imagine.
Absolutely. And again, you've got your hosts, Josh and Derek, here today, both B2B SaaS founders. And we're excited to chat with you. So let's just dive in, Adam. So tell us what RB2B and Retention.com do and why you're the right person to solve that problem.
Yeah, so like one sells to B2B, one sells to e-com, but like the core tech is the same. Someone hits your site and they leave without filling out a form and providing your information. That's pretty much 98% of everyone's traffic. The best people at capturing in the world, it's probably 95% of their traffic, right? So you're spending an unbelievable amount of time and resources driving people to your site. To have to then pay Facebook again to bring them back is frustrating. It's a waste of money. It's like there's a lot of problems with it. So our technology, through basically, proprietary publisher network that we run, we can basically figure out who these people are. On the e-com side, we resolve it to a deliverable email address, and it, fuels a bunch of basically site abandonment use cases, like abandoned cart, abandoned product, abandoned checkout, abandoned whatever you could abandon. It will help you to identify more people that are abandoning and send them emails. I can promise you that. And then on the B2B side, slightly different implementation of the technology. It's RB2B.com. So somebody hits your site, they leave. We will pop a LinkedIn URL and a business email into a Slack channel so that your BDRs or SDRs can basically find the ideal customer profile leads, connect with them on LinkedIn, put them in an email sequence and whatever sequencing tool they use. And basically, start a conversation with incredibly warm leads that are showing the best intent signal, in my opinion, that there is out there. And that's a freemium go-to-market motion. So it's like, it's designed so that 90% of the market will never pay. And the top 10% sort of, funds the whole operation. And it's the prices are low. Like the most expensive plan is like $1,200 a month monthly, and that's like a real mid-market SaaS with a lot of traffic.
Yeah, and I think for the audience too, I'll tell you a true story. So at a prior B2B SaaS company that I was founder and CEO of, we used a similar tool, but it was, we're talking 6 years ago, right? So we didn't have the level that you guys provide. So what I could find out was the company that visited my website. And then I'd have to go to LinkedIn or Zoom Info, whatever tools I was using, and search for the 12 people or the 15 people that could potentially be the person who visited my site, message every single one of them, right? And I couldn't say, hey, did you visit my site? Because I didn't know if they did or didn't. So the fact that you guys can actually tell me who visits my site is a game changer. If I had had that technology, I would have been a lot happier and a lot more efficient. So that's very cool. So tell us a little bit about how long it's been around and the story there.
So I think we're on week. So by the way, retention.com, where the technology that this sort of was a spinoff from, we started that in November 2019. So we're coming up on almost 5 years. And I have this B2B COO who the entire time, he joined 2 years ago. And the whole time we were kind of scaling up that company, he's like, we got to sell this to B2B. It's like, if it works for selling $100 pair of shoes, it's going to work for selling $30,000 a year software. Like it just will. So around September of last year, our retention.com got kind of stable enough as a business to where we could apply attention elsewhere and start basically, going into like an alpha and beta like product cycle with a B2B product. And at the same time, I was like building a lot of audience in this world on LinkedIn. And then we officially launched a public website with a back end on March 1st, which was like 14 and a half weeks ago. And we'll probably hit 1 million. We'll probably hit 1 million ARR in 5 days, would be my guess. So 15 weeks, not bad. Good product market fit there.
Derek, you've got to have your company buy so you can help Adam hit 1 million ARR. So there's your homework.
Yeah, I was just listening. That's pretty amazing, truthfully. And those, from a B2B perspective and owning a B2B business like I do, it's something that those warm or hot leads are worth so much. And so I guess in the B2B space, a lot of companies are using various types of intent data or other sort of competitors' products for various things. How would you kind of differentiate your tool versus those?
Yeah. So like it's what Josh said. It's Clearbit basically popularized reverse IP lookup as a method to de-anonymize people to the company level, right? So, or the account level. And there's probably 15 or 20 vendors that do that right now. The shortcoming is obvious. Like it's the company and it is not the person. You cannot service data subjects outside of the US, meaning you can't resolve European traffic if you take it down to the person. So that's one reason. The other reason is they all sell to huge companies, and like a massive company is not interested in sort of de-anonymizing to this level because there's this self-regulatory board called the IAB, and they kind of say you shouldn't do this. Nobody that I have ever talked to even knows what that is. So yeah, I show up with this new technology that I've been selling in an adjacent market for 5 years, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread because there is a reason that kind of no other competitor wants to do it. But it's compliant with all applicable rules and regulations. It's compliant with the state level stuff that's happening in the US. If you're a European company, you can do it in the US because it's the pixel only fires on US soil and there are only US citizens in our database. So yeah, it's like, a totally compliant but somewhat aggressive marketing technology that, basically we were the first ones who came to market with it. And the adoption has been phenomenal for the reasons that we're talking about,
Yeah. That sounds like magic, really. And I've seen that before in some of those other B2B intense type products, is that you see that a company came to your website, or that reverse IP lookup shows you, okay, a person that probably works at this company came to your site. But that doesn't really help you because that company could have thousands of employees. You don't really know how to then go and tackle that business. And so having the exact person that you can then go and outreach to is pretty incredible level of detail.
Yeah. And then the other part of intent data, which I think is like really not a great signal, is like what 6 Sense demand-based metadata, they all do this. So like they'll look at the bid stream, which is like the ad tech network, and they will connect someone reading about something and say that that person is an in-market buyer, right? So like if someone happens to be reading something online that mentions Apollo.io or something, then those companies will put that person in an audience to show display ads to, assuming that they are actually looking to buy something like Apollo.io, which is, it's a content consumption signal. It's not a buying signal. So like that's the other type of it's Bombora type intent, like that whole category, I think, is kind of losing some luster now because it's just such a weak signal. And like a lot of the companies also sell the site visitor, but it's at the account level. And like that actually is super valuable. Even the account level is more valuable than not having that signal, right? Like certainly the person's like more valuable, but like even just knowing an account hit your site is way more valuable than knowing that someone was reading about God knows what in an article that happened to mention Apollo. So yeah, I think the website visit is just the best intent signal. And like we're in a world where you need to act on intent signals to prospect because there's a lot of reasons why, like response rates are going down so much. So, high intent from a credible source is like the only way you're going to get in touch with somebody.
For sure. And I mean, you use the word aggressive, but I don't think it's aggressive at all. If I walk into a retail store, you bet your bottom dollar someone's going to come up to me and say, "Hey, is there anything I can help you with?" And this is no different. It's just maybe the first opportunity in the digital world when someone visits my digital store, aka my website, that can be done. And maybe it's just new, but I don't think it's aggressive at all. I think it's smart. So a couple of questions actually come to mind based on some of what you said. There's a lot to unpack there. One of which is I just want to get the regulation side out of this because maybe people have questions or not. So from a regulation perspective, correct me if I'm wrong. If I had the information of who visited my website, there's nothing stopping me from reaching out to them. However, can I put them on a marketing list? At what point do they need to like opt into a marketing list?
So like, again, this is like, where are you located, right? Like the law. So this, the battle that I was fighting when I launched the e-commerce product was that people had that specific question. It's actually different in the B2B world than that specific question. But like people were like, hold on, I thought it was against the law to send a marketing email to people that did not opt in. In the US, it is not. The CAN spam law is opt out, not opt in. All of the state level legislation is opt out, not opt in. You can't do it in Canada with Canadians, right? With Canadian citizens. You can't do it over in Europe with European citizens. But in the US, you actually are permitted to put whoever you want in a marketing email, so long as there's an opt out link in there. Why would you not do that? Because email is not really about opt in my opinion. Email is about deliverability. The reason that you would not just spam everyone is because Gmail will very quickly stop accepting newsletters from you, and that will ruin your day. So you really have to be judicious about who you put in a marketing email. It is not our recommendation, by the way, to take these people and put them in a marketing email and send newsletters to them. Our recommendation is you either use a tool like Clay and have automated one-off emails go out, or you actually have one of your reps that's sitting there doing outreach all day, take the ICP site visitors and do manual, highly personalized outreach to act on that intent signal.
Awesome. So maybe that dovetails into another question based on what you said. This is actually going back a couple things that you said. You mentioned, Clearbit, et cetera. I think that's the one that I used way back when, and we churned from it. Talk about your accuracy. So what should people expect? Like if I have 100 visitors on my website, US-based visitors, what can I expect in terms of contact information across that sample size?
So there was a guy last week who put out a post called an unbiased review of RB2B versus Clearbit. It's like Sam, amazing. Right? Yeah, Sam did. Sam, I saw that. So he said that we were resolving 8% of his traffic. The problem is around 50% of his traffic is not US based. So that 8 is really something in the high teens, right? In terms of accuracy, he said Clearbit was 60% accurate. We were 85% accurate within what we were resolving. So Clearbit was getting a higher resolution rate in aggregate, but most of that was actually because they were resolving the European traffic. You know what I mean? So they were at like 30 and we were at 8, but it's because they could capture everything and we could only do the US. So yeah, we're doing some things to raise that high teens to probably low 20s, mid 20s, but we also want to have a high degree of confidence when we're passing a lead to somebody that it is, to the best of our knowledge, a good lead, right? So like, we're not, at the end of the day, it's like there's deterministic signals and probabilistic signals that like make it better or whatever. And you can tune it to where you could resolve everybody, but like the accuracy would be low. You could tune it to where the accuracy is perfect, but you would resolve 1% of people. So there's a balance of that's like more judicious on the B2B side than B2C, where you want to be highly accurate, but you also want coverage. So yeah, that's where it is right now. We're actually going to add the reverse IP lookup tech into our bundle, and that will dramatically increase the resolution rate. The interesting thing is that Sam said, which I have observed too, because we bought 6 Sense and Clearbit ourselves to compare. If you make a Venn diagram of the contacts that like we're both resolving, there's actually very little overlap, because the reverse IP lookup is just identifying a totally different group of people than this publisher network methodology that we're doing. So like when we add reverse IP lookup, it'll probably take our total resolution rate from high teens to like 45 or 50%, but like 30% of them will be companies and 15 will be the people,
Yeah.
So yeah,
makes sense.
Answer there.
And I don't want the audience to think that that's a low percentage. Obviously, when they couple reverse IP lookup, it's tremendous. But the reality is, even your most expensive plan at $1,200 a month, I mean, as a B2B SaaS CEO, right, with an average contract value that far exceeds that, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's just a no-brainer, right? And it's not to say that I would need that highest plan from an ROI perspective.
If you're feeding your BDR even one good lead a day that is on your website that they were not getting before, it's almost like it doesn't even matter what that costs within $0 to $1,000 a month. That is going to be worth paying for, right? Like even one a day, So yeah, but that was the idea with the pricing, was to like make it's kind of like, I viewed like there was a company, there was a type of company that knew how to book outbound demos and a type of company that does not. The type of company that does, they should be paying us for this. The type of company that does not, use it as like a toy. It's still interesting to see who's on your website, but like we're not trying to charge someone who doesn't know how to book demos, because they have another problem. They have a different issue than like, getting more leads of high intent people on their site. They need to learn how to like communicate their sales message through whatever channels are available to them,
Yeah, that makes sense, Adam. And so are you finding most of the clients or the customers that are buying your product, are a lot of them SaaS companies, or are they across all different types of industries, services, other things as well?
So we have started, and by the way, the company is, I told you, it's like 14 or 15 weeks old. We started with B2B SaaS just because the founder brand content I'm making and Santosh is making is so resonant in LinkedIn, and the TAM is big on LinkedIn for that specific vertical. I don't think it's limited to that. I think there's a big opportunity in recruiting who are also on LinkedIn, but like, I think my thought leadership content on recruiting would be diluted compared to what it is in, revenue, go to market for startups. But yeah, we're starting there. I find it hard to believe that the tech would not work for any business that sort of has a sales team that does outbound, that has a reasonably high ACV, because what is this technology at the end of the day, right? It's like whatever you're doing to market your business and to create awareness for it, when whatever you have done has worked, it probably creates a site visit out of somebody, like whatever it is, like outbound cold calling, cold emailing, like, you put your business in some marketplace. It's like if someone's interested, they're going to check your site out. And this just allows you to enable someone in sales to make all of those channels more efficient. So I would imagine there's, tangential verticals that this becomes really effective for. It's just the efficiency with which we're growing in SaaS because of this founder brand and the sort of, if you want to call it like edutainment channel that we have available to us. It's where we're starting.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. And it seems like it's starting off, 15 weeks to get to nearly $1 million in ARR is pretty incredible. So as that expands out in other industries, and even from a personal standpoint, running a services business, that would be huge data to get. And that's data that would be worth a lot for us to be looking for, because maybe people are shopping competitors. They've heard who's in the ecosystem. They come to your site. They're about to buy from somebody else, and you can kind of come in and give your pitch to them and maybe get that deal. So that's very exciting. Any insight on what you see for the next 15 weeks or a few months out from here?
Knock on wood, it appears to be gaining momentum. So yeah, I mentioned a couple, I think that, with these freemium plays, you kind of have this benefit of scale that like now it's like I'm on these podcasts and like most of the people at least know someone who's using the tool because it's just free and it's so low friction to try. So yeah, I think that, I'm going to just try to look for ways to expand the content operation that I have. And then we're going to just keep, adding features that our customers tell us they want to make it useful, adding more integrations, adding this reverse IP lookup, like adding some deeper functionality to some of the core integrations. Like we don't have a Salesforce integration yet. Like we're going to need a Salesforce integration. Right now, people who really want to use it, they're making the webhook work and they're sort of taking the webhook and just putting it in Salesforce, but like, stuff like that. But, it's one of these products where I think in 6 months or so, like 95% of the value that it will always provide will be built. And then it will be like these optimization features. Like maybe we put something like Hotjar in it that like ChatGPT can read and tell you, based on who the contact is, like exactly what they did in the session or something like that. Right. But that's, the real value is knowing
those integrations.
Yeah. It's like integrations and yeah. So that's what's coming.
That's exciting. And I think we're seeing with the focus being on more and more automation or more AI, so to speak, that these types of things that are more like it almost feels like magic, right? You're getting in there, someone's coming to your site, and then you mentioned another tool which could send them an automated first reach out email, and then you could interact with that prospect all the way through to probably scheduling a demo without having anybody actually get engaged there. So how do you kind of see that in the future as part of this?
I'll just tell you a story that my co-founder, Diana, who runs retention.com, told me yesterday. So she was she was in New York last week for some trade show. She had dinner with this girl who has this baby bag brand that's like blowing up with the cool kids in New York, right? It's like one of these things where like, they walked 4 blocks together and they saw 7 women carrying these bags. And so really cool. During dinner, all they talked about was their kids, how weird COVID was. Like, didn't even really, like Diana was going to follow up, but like she hadn't yet. Right. So it's a week later and, it was kind of such a good conversation that she knew she was in a good spot and just didn't immediately start harassing her about a demo. So that woman comes to the retention.com website. We have a clay table that then sees what she looks at her site, uses ChatGPT to write her an email, and it gets sent from Diana, and she writes back that she wants a demo. right? Like booking demos while you sleep. Like, I don't know. That's like the dream or something. It's like, who would not have that running, right? Like that's my whole thing with this. It's like, I'm not saying it's going to like eliminate outbound salespeople forever, but like, who would not at least have this running in the background? Like it would just be silly, in my opinion. So yeah, this is exactly the promise of this. If you want to call it this like next generation tech stack, it's like us and Clay, and Smart Lead allows you to like send cold emails off a bunch of different domains. And, there's this SendSpark app, which is like customized AI video, based on whatever, right? Like based on whatever the Clay table's feeding it. You can do AI voice messages where you're just swapping out the person's name and all the voice messages you're dropping into LinkedIn. I mean, there's just the creativity is the limitation, right? Like the possibilities are literally endless.
It's interesting. I mean, I'm a big top of funnel guy in terms of like a belief system, and it's people are like, how do you get sales? It's like, well, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and the first bite needs to be top of funnel. And to me, this is my opinion, but to me, this is top of funnel. A lot of people have taken strategies and said, let's just go hire all the outbound sales folks we can, BDRs, SDRs, whatever we're going to call it. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, why would you hire them until your top of funnel is so full that they're busy all day, every day, instead of just making cold outreaches? And I'm not saying cold outreaches don't work, but how often do they work, and how many people do you have to reach out to versus you got your top of funnel built with a tool like retention.com, just a different ball game nowadays. So one thing I just wanted to validate for the audience, obviously you mentioned where RB2B is in terms of revenue. What about retention.com? I just want people to understand kind of that as well.
Yeah, that one I'm pretty public about it. I publicize the journey. It's 22 million ARR, and I started it, bootstrapped it, started at 4.5 years ago. So yeah, it's we're going through my experience being an entrepreneur is being stuck and getting unstuck, and like that business is currently in one of these like, we need to figure out, we think we're very close, but like we need to figure out what the next like push up is. But it's a great company. It's a great product. It's solidly profitable, great CAC payback time. CAC LTV is like a little lower than we want it, but like there's reasons for that, and we're trying to fix them.
Yeah, and I think it's just important for the audience to know, that's one of the reasons we wanted to have Adam on the pod is while RB2B is a newer segment for them, you can hear by the revenue of retention.com. It's a very established company. So that's certainly important. So I had another question for you, but it just lost my mind. Okay, so here's the question. So tell us a little bit about in the tool. I know we'll see this in the demo, but tell us a little bit about in the tool, how you guys help people calculate ROI.
So we haven't, in retention.com, we have like a ton of ROI calculators built because it all goes through these email marketing and marketing automation apps like Klaviyo, and like we can pull data from them and just calculate with what people are paying us, like what the situation is. RB2B, we don't have anything built yet, but like the way I would just be thinking about it is like, surely people know what a demo is worth to them, I would think, right? Like it's just sort of like, what's your ACV? Okay. What's your close rate? Okay. Like, this is probably going to be a pretty decent demo, if it's a site visitor. So I would, and I would hope that you would also have an understanding of like, what is the cadence to actually generate a demo? Like how long does it take to, from when you start prospecting someone? Some businesses it's 2 days. Some businesses it takes 2 months to like get somebody on the phone or whatever. And then, I'd look at what you were paying us and try to figure out if what you're paying us is worth the demos that these leads are creating. And the pricing is designed to make it an absolute no-brainer for most SaaS companies. I mean, it's just, it is just meant to be, pricing is not meant to be a point of friction. So the idea is, if it's working so well that there's just not even a question that you're going to continue. And if there's even a question, just like use a free plan. like put it on your high intent pages, get, under 200 leads a month and just, use it that way,
Makes sense. And the way I think about it is measuring, how many demos do I get? Not the close ratio. That's a totally different story. That's my pre-sales team or demo enablement team's responsibility, but how many demos am I getting is important. Derek, any other questions on your end?
No, I think that really rounded out a lot of things. And like you said, I was going to ask you a little bit about churn, but it's sort of like pretty simple, right? If you aren't getting value out of the product, just go back to the freemium version. But it feels like based on the pricing and the quality of leads, having individual names, I mean, it's very hard not to get ROI on that, because in reality, for most B2B companies with higher ticket prices on their products, you really only need 1 or 2 sales a month, if even in 1 month. That could be one a quarter, could easily create ROI for a solution such as this. So like you say, that feels like a bit of a no-brainer.
I mean, I'll say this part again. It's like, if outbound sales works for you, then it's impossible for me to imagine a scenario that this will not work at these prices, right? Like, if outbound sales does not work for you, you have a different type of problem. It's not related to finding higher intent leads, which is effectively what this tool is doing. It's like you need to figure out how to do outbound sales. So yeah, but it's saying what you're saying in a different way. It's like, it's such a slam dunk if you have that machine going to just like feed these leads into that machine at this price. But yeah, it's no brainer. And if not, use a free tool. It's still cool to look at.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure the viewers are waiting to see the demo. Should we jump in?
So let's just do that. So let's say I'm going to bring up my Webflow instance right now too, so you can just see this whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to start for free. Works for US-based traffic only. We're like reminding people. Continue next step. Work email, Adam+99 at RB2B.com. Adam+99 at... I'm going to literally show you every step of this. Adam Robinson, retention.com. Next step. Okay, so I use Slack, and I use HubSpot, and I use Clay, and I use SmartLead. Next step. How many sales reps do I have? Well, I have 0 now, but I have 1 starting on July 1st, so I'm going to say 1. Next step. How many demos did I book last month? I'm going to say 0 because we didn't really book any demos for this. Okay, and then it's going to have me integrate with Slack, which is literally just 2 clicks, which I'm not going to do because I already have the channel set up, and it's going to mess up my ability to show it to you later. So I'm going to skip this step, but it's 2 clicks. And then my website is RB2B.com. Next step. And then I can either send script via email to my dev, or I can literally just copy this, go to Webflow, site settings, custom code, and it's already here because I already put it in for us. But I literally just go to head code and drop it in here and hit save. Publish. Boom. Publish to selected domains. That's the full install. How long did that take? 2 minutes?
Very fast.
Yeah, that's fast.
Yep, it's quick. And then what happens, which you're not going to see because I didn't set up a new Slack channel, is how do I see my channels? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, here we go. So it will bring you through a mini onboarding when you connect the Slack channel. That's just like drops a block in. That's like me waving at you. It's like, hey, this is working. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's what a profile is going to look like. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And then it had you go through that. And then for most people, within minutes, you start seeing this, right? Which is the output.
Nice. So just post that right in there in a Slack channel,
exactly.
basically instantly when that occurs.
Yeah. So next set of features is an ICP filter, so that the only leads that will come in here, because once you have a certain amount of traffic, I actually know this guy quite well, Robert Gilbrath. Once you have a certain amount of traffic, so there's this weird thing about traffic that the more traffic you have, the lower quality your traffic is. If you're not running any marketing campaigns and only people who are hitting your site are coming there through word of mouth, the percentage of people hitting your site and your ICP will be very large. The more traffic you run through paid ads, through referral, affiliate campaign, whatever, the lower quality it becomes. So huge volume people need an ICP filter, ideal customer profile filter. So that's coming soon. We advise just putting a rep in here, or maybe two. And, a few times a day, they just go through here, figure out, who people in their ICP are. Like this guy, GTM Strategy and Operations, that's totally wheelhouse. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Looks like I might already be connected. Yep, I'm already connected. Message him. Saw you were just on the site. I mean, whatever. So the messaging is, you could be really aggressive and actually say, saw you on the site, or you can sort of take a more relaxed route, which I would advocate, and say something along the lines of whatever opener you would use to like a semi-cold or warm prospect, right? Like I just do the connect first, put them in an email sequence, and write them a LinkedIn message in a day or two, because you're like formulating these brand impressions, and not specifically say that you saw them on the site, because, there is that whole, I think it's becoming less of a thing, but like there is kind of like a creep factor thing that can happen.
Yeah, I've had that a couple times where I went to a site and got a phone call instantaneously from somebody,
and you're like,
from somebody there.
What?
It's a little creepy. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is the extent of the product now. Yeah.
And you were saying your current solution has a freemium model. So
right.
What, as it stands today, what's included in that? So
it's the connect to Slack and 200 leads a month resolved to LinkedIn profiles. So like it's what you're looking at, but just limited to 200 leads per month. And we picked that number because it's a freemium product, and like most of the signups by number are people that are small. So 90% of people are below that line that sign up. I would imagine people who are listening to this are all substantially above that line. But I'll show you the pricing.
Well, like you were saying, like at 200 leads a month, let's say you're a company that's not doing a huge amount of outbound marketing, and maybe people who are coming to your site are pretty potential buyers at that point. That could be enough to get them. That could be enough permanently on the product.
Yeah,
potentially.
Totally. I mean, and that's the idea. And then once you become over 200 leads a month, like these are our monthly prices. So, I mean, this is not pretty much with anybody that's got a substantial, any kind of decent outbound operation. I imagine this is going to be one of the cheapest technologies that you use. Like we have 3 customers above $10,000 a month right now. Yeah, I mean, it's priced to move. Let's put it that way.
Fantastic. Yeah. And obviously that's been really successful on the journey so far, the last 15 weeks. Pretty amazing. So what's on the roadmap for you over the next period of time? Is the product as it stands today, obviously coming from the retention.com history, there's a lot of functionality and a whole sort of system built around that already. So what's next for RB2B in terms of features or functions on the roadmap?
So basically it's like integrations and then an ICP filter. They're the 2 main things. But like I said, we need a Salesforce integration. We don't have one yet. If people really want it, they can make the webhook work, but we need a Salesforce integration. We need an ICP filter. We're going to add the Clearbit style reverse IP lookup to the tech. And then we'll start doing cooler stuff, the AI add-ons, like whatever. But like those major things like are what will round out the product and make it useful for almost everybody, right? Like now we're missing there's a big hole with Salesforce, but like when you make a free product, generally the first people who show up at your door are the HubSpot people. So like we did that one first. And then, I think once you sell to them for 6 months or a year or whatever, then you kind of, the trust in the product naturally has you drifting up market, at which, like the Salesforce thing is like somewhat of a blocker right now. It's going to be a real blocker in like 6 months or something, right? So we're going to build that in a month. Those are the 3 major things that are coming.
That's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, congrats, Adam. I mean, you've had great success, and it's been really fun to follow you on LinkedIn. For those who don't follow Adam, I highly recommend it. He's very transparent and authentic about his journey, and it's very educational and sometimes pretty interesting. There's been a couple interesting things to follow too. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But no, it's been great. So any parting words for the audience, maybe how to contact you or anything else before we let you go?
Yeah, if you want to email me, it's adam@retention.com. I respond to email pretty regularly. I'm doing a ton, as you said, doing a ton on LinkedIn. So just Adam Robinson on LinkedIn, and check out RB2B.com.
All right. Thanks, Adam. We'll let you go, and appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. So we just let Adam drop, and now Derek and I are going to chat a little bit about what we saw. So yeah, Derek, any initial opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting to see a product that almost any business could try. And that freemium model sounds really interesting. And it makes me want to just go on the site and sign up and see how it works and see the quality of the leads that you're getting. Because it feels like that's really what it's going to come down to, is the quality of the matches that it's getting, and the people that you're seeing. Are those actual potential buyers of your product, or are they not? And that's what's going to make the difference. But that sort of ability to even get this data is almost magic.
Yeah, I agree. To me, it's, just builds that top of funnel, the ability to grab someone's contact information, and whether you reach out with success or they just end up in your marketing blasts, it's a huge win. I mean, it's so hard to get people's information that have any potential intent. It's a game changer to cold outreach. And, like I said, I tried something similar where it didn't give us the person's information, just the company information. And that was a needle in the haystack. So even if this only returned 10, 20, 30, soon it sounds like, maybe 50, 60% of people's contact information. It's a tremendous ROI if you have the processes to put it in place effectively. And with that said, I also like the downstream you can do with it. And I think that's up to each company of okay, now I have this information, how am I going to use it? So it's not that Adam's tool is going to be the magic bullet for your business. It's going to be a great tool in your arsenal of many things that you do to build, top of funnel through closing sales. But I like that you can then take that information, and whether it's email blasts or personalized emails or videos or whatever else you want to do with it, Slack, you have that carte blanche to be creative.
Yeah, completely. And obviously compliance risks and things like that come with any solution that gets down on a personal data level. And it sounds like obviously only available in the US for US site visitors and things like that right now. And I think it'll be interesting to see the path for the future as that goes. But inevitably, more and more, it feels like people are expecting to be targeted, I guess, when they're visiting certain sites or going to certain areas. And in some respects, it actually helps them see content that is more relevant to them versus just a broadsheet content. So I guess there's a thought on both ends, but it'll be interesting to see if that impacts the business over the next year or two.
Absolutely. Well, cool. I don't have any more thoughts. I guess closing words on today's episode. If you liked it, make sure you like or subscribe on one of our channels that you're watching it on. And we'll be back with some additional great content in another episode. Thanks.